This is a peace platform where the darkest stories don't stay in the dark. Today's guest is Nick, also known as the Cavalier Son, a man who faced PTSD head on. And when faced with silence, and the silence got too loud and survival wasn't guaranteed, instead of letting it break him, he turned to music, not just to cope, but to fight back. What started as a lifeline became a mission, taking his sound across the world, reaching people in their lowest moments, and reminding them they're not alone. This isn't just about music, this is about pulling yourself out and becoming the light for someone else. So, welcome in, Nick. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the Peace platform.
It's awesome. I'm so thankful that you're here and sharing your story. So let's just jump right into it, and I will turn it over to you. And how would you like to introduce yourself today?
Well, thank you. Again, my name's Nick from the nation's capital here in Canada. Spent about a 20-year career in emergency services, both from an operational first responder perspective and then also in emergency management later on in my career. I retired back in 2017. I'm a grandfather now. What else can I tell you? What else can I tell you? I'm retired and I play music for therapy.
That's beautiful. A grandfather. That just brings a whole different level to life, doesn't it?
Oh, it changed absolutely. It makes me feel old, but in the best way possible.
You know what? We oftentimes, I think, say, oh my gosh, I'm getting so old. But then we stop and think, a lot of people don't have that opportunity to grow old.
Well, not absolutely right. Either with a partner or even on their own. Just we take it for granted sometimes, for sure.
We do. And that's kind of what I like to bring a light to here. And I also like to bring a light to the fact that we can find peace even in the struggling times. And so you had mentioned you had done decades of work with us and as a paramedic. And I want to start by asking you right now in your world, what does peace mean to you?
Well, let me just clarify here. The For me, living life with as little to no conflict at all is key. I believe that life should get easier as we get older. That we should be able to draw on our past experiences and experiences from those around us, the people that we trust, friends, family, colleagues, and make the best decisions possible to bring that peace. So, really, to sum it up, is life should get easier as we get older based on the decisions that we make. That to me is truly like I've come full circle. I've come to understand that a lot of the chaos in my life was based on the decisions that I was making, and you're right, and a lot of those decisions, for better or for worse, were for the moment. I didn't give much thought. Decision of passion, and ultimately, none of those decisions made my life easier. And for me, peace. When I think of the word peace, that's no conflict with people, with companies, with loved ones, and with myself in particular. And the way I achieved that was really just to try to make those decisions based on, is this going to make my life easier or harder? And when I'm faced with that decision, I use that equation. And if it's going to make my life easier, I run with it. And I'm not saying take the easy way out. I'm not saying, oh, do I go to
Right.
the gym today because I'm feeling tired and lazy? I shouldn't go to the gym. Well, no, in the long run, that's not going to make my life easier. That's going to make my life harder because I'm just going to get more sedentary. I'm going to get more depressed because going to work out doesn't feel good in my body. Then atrophy, muscle atrophy, and everything else that goes with it. So I just try to make it, give you a simple example, but really, it's for me, it's about making the best decision possible to make life as easy as possible now.
That's beautiful. And I love how you mentioned that it's not only with the people and places and environments that you're in, but it's also within finding that peace within yourself and what does feel right. And absolutely taking those past experiences and not letting them beat us up, not letting them control or dictate our life anymore, but letting them guide us based on what feels right.
100%.
Absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. So aside from
Thank you.
me putting you on the spot and saying, hey, want to come and help me out with this podcast I'm starting, what made you feel ready to share your story, either through this podcast or even through your music?
Well, I think that through a lot of the therapy I've done and over the years, the rooms I've been in and the people I've met, one of the biggest takeaways that I've always had is that sharing your story not only heals you, not only makes you feel more comfortable with who you are and the traumas that you've gone through and overcome, but you never know who in the room might need to hear that same story. You never know who in the room can relate or could pull some kind of strength from the story that you're sharing and be able to apply it to them. And I've been lucky enough through music and even just through sharing of my story and the trials and tribulations and things that I've gone through from hell high water, everything in between. I've been able to not only touch many people, but these people have been able to touch me, and it's a two-way healing street. It's a wonderful
Absolutely.
experience. I really feel that if it can help me and my methodology or my thought process of just trying to make those decisions in life that make life easier, why can't it help other people? And again, I might be making it too simple. But really, if you can, like life needs to be simple. There's a reason why somebody came up with that acronym of KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
I don't want to use the term stupid, but we're not stupid people. But we make stupid decisions. We can make silly decisions, and those decisions, again, if they're spur of the moment or it's not a proper evaluation, are these just I don't know. We don't go with past history or past experience, then we're going to make decisions that aren't necessarily going to be in the best interest for us or those around us.
Absolutely. I think I'm just going to take a second, Nick, and let everybody that's listening. I want to share how we actually met because it was actually through music that we ended up coming into each other's lives. And again, just something as simple as we were at a resort and I seen this fellow walking through the lobby with a guitar on his back and a bunch of tattoos. And I'm like, I need to find out more about this guy because he gets something about music, and music can be so therapeutic, and music is my go to. And then as I approached you, I noticed that you had a tattoo on your hand that said Gord. And I thought, there's no way in heck that this tattoo is actually for Gord Downey, who is one of my lifelines, the lead singer from the Tragically Hip, who has been monumental in my recovery and in my healing. And lo and behold, it turns out that it was. So just simply by that connection of the music that you share and who you are, it connected us, and both of us are on this journey of healing and sharing and encouraging people to not allow life to be so hard and
No,
to keep it simple, right? And so it's beautiful, and I just wanted to share how we came to know each other.
thank you. I appreciate that.
So before these challenges or these things that came and introduced you to PTSD and brought you some to some darker times, what was life like for you before that?
Before all that, I was a super high achiever. Super productive, climbing the corporate ladder, and trying to keep up with the Joneses. Really, I guess for
Okay.
lack of a better term, trying to have the houses, have the cars, have the toys, just have all the payments that went with it and all the headaches that went with it too. But no,
Right.
ultimately, it wasn't about. I wasn't trying to achieve peace. I was just trying to achieve something that I didn't know what it was. I was just trying to keep up. Really, is what I was trying to do. Which keeping up with the demands of work, with the demands of life. Really, there was no work life balance, unfortunately, at that point. It got thrown out the
Yeah.
window. It was a matter more of achievement. It felt like if you weren't getting that promotion, if you weren't getting the next big payday, if you weren't getting that next nice new car or the present for your spouse at Christmas or whatever, it felt like you weren't keeping up. It felt like
Right.
society was passing you by, and I was doing my best to ride that wave as best as I could, but all waves come to an end, and
Yeah.
I found that out the hard way.
So it sounds like there was a lot of external validation being sought and these material things and chasing. It just popped in my head, chasing the American dream. I know we're Canadians, but really didn't have any awareness or any understanding that really all of that stuff comes within, and that the more we try to get into our life, the more headaches we welcome into our lives with all of that. So was there specific one main challenge that was the switch for you, or what made you first realize that something wasn't right, and what was the biggest struggle that made you realize you needed to do some change?
Well, for me, it was funny because I was removed from the first response aspect of it at this point. I was working in an office tower on the 17th floor, wearing a suit and tie to work at this point, and trying to climb that corporate ladder and taking the bus into work one day. And I still remember it clear as day, a beautiful sunny day, just looking out the window as we're coming up to downtown, and all of a sudden tears just started coming down my face, and I had no idea why. Yeah, for all intents and purposes, I was on the top of that success ladder. I was getting promotions. I was good salary. I had the wife. I had the kids, the dogs, everything that the checklist. We had the checklist covered.
Right.
But the only checklist that really meant anything was my mental health checklist. And I neglected taking care of that. And for me, that's when I knew something was wrong, when I just started crying for no reason. And I never cried. I didn't. In my whole career, didn't cry. I'm not a crier. It's not a bad thing to cry, but for me, it just wasn't my thing. And then all of a sudden, now I'm weaker than I've ever been, and my and what for what I thought at the time, anyways. And I've learned a lot Since then, that crying doesn't make you weak, obviously, but
Absolutely.
um, right, but no, and that was the start of it, and from there it just spiraled, and I got diagnosis with the PTSD, and then depression, and then to battle all of that came addiction. It was just one snowball after another, and when you're in that, it feels impossible to get out of it, right? Like, you don't want to wake up anymore. You give up.
So how did that, now I know you say that it brought in the depression, it brought in the spiral, it brought in kind of focusing on all of that. Did it change your view on how you saw the world or how you saw yourself in the world?
Oh, of course. I didn't want to be part of it anymore. I didn't think I had anything to contribute. I went from this high achiever to all of a sudden thinking that I was embarrassed to show my face anywhere. I didn't want to see old colleagues or old friends or family. I was a shell of myself.
Right.
And the world just became a very scary place all of a sudden. It became a very unforgiving place. It's funny because when I was riding that wave, it's, hey, friggin', I'm king of the world. And then all of a sudden, it feels like I'm drowning under this wave with no life jacket, no lifeguard on duty. I'm on my own here.
Right.
And it's a scary feeling. So, no, my view of the world definitely changed. But really, it was my view of myself that I think changed the most for the negative, or for the worse at that point.
Right. So looking back now, when you were in those darkest times there, do you remember or can you comment and share what helped you survive or keep going as you were trying to get out from that wave and to get your feet back under you? What helped you at that time?
I don't really, at that time, I lost everything. I lost my family, I lost my career, my dogs, houses. I think the thing that really kept me going right at that point, I really don't know. I guess, to be honest, my heart didn't stop. I was hospitalized multiple times for the depression, and it's a great question.
And I know, and it is it a difficult one.
I can tell you it wasn't hope, because there was no hope, right? When you're in the
No.
storm, there is no hope. And there's to see the eye of the storm, you hear about it in hurricanes, where if you're in the eye of the hurricane, it's a beautiful spot to be. And then a few miles on either side of that eye, it's back to the crazy storm. There really was no eye. I mean, it just got worse and worse. And I think it was
So,
just the rooms and the people that I kept meeting that kept me going back.
okay.
Therapy. Like, why aren't
Okay.
you at our group session? Why aren't you coming to the veterans thing? Or that you
Right.
make friends along the way, whether you want or not, that they help bring you up and they do their check-ins on you. And unfortunately, these are typically people that have gone through what you're going through, or are currently going through it, or they're professionals. They're not family, they're not friends, they're not colleagues, because they didn't understand. They really don't understand what you're going through. And that there's a huge disconnect there, unfortunately, which makes it really difficult, especially with your family and loved ones.
That
But for
right
me,
there.
that's
I want to touch on that for just 1 second. That is huge because I think so many people, and for those listeners out there right now that are sitting in that dark space that don't see anything and are feeling frustrated because friends and family don't get it. A lot of times it's not that they don't care, that they don't see, but they have absolutely zero clue how to handle this. And I love that you brought up the fact that you spent time with people that have been in similar situations. And it is those kind of people that know that there's absolutely nothing that they can say that's going to fix you, A, because you're not broken, and B, because this is your journey, but to simply be in that space with people that understand that darkness is beautiful. And I'm going to ask you this one thing and hope I don't know, but you might have an answer. So if there's somebody out there right now that's listening that is in that darkness, that can see nothing, has no hope, and is in that space, what is one thing right now you'd love for them to be able to hear from you?
it might sound cliche, but that they're not alone. That there's absolutely somebody out there that's either gone through what they're going through, or gone through worse than what they're going through. And it's not belittle, but to make light of whatever somebody's going through. But the point is that it's never as bad as we think it is. And I was guilty of that. I thought the worst. My life was over. I lost everything. I
Yeah.
end it now. There's no point living. And I can promise you, after several years of working on myself, my quality of life, my mental health now is so much better and stronger than it was even before the storm, even before I went off on PTSD, even
Yeah.
when I was still climbing that corporate ladder, when I thought I was getting recognized for all these good promotions and things like that at work, and
Yeah.
I'd reward myself by purchasing something, and that none of that actually made me happy. It really didn't. And what I guess I'm trying to say is, for that person out there that's suffering, that isolation is the worst thing for you. Get out and go talk to somebody, anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. Obviously, somebody that preferably have some kind of positive outlook on life, or some. Don't go see a drug dealer. Don't go see a pusher. Don't. Go to, there's therapy groups out there. It doesn't have to be called therapy. I know a lot of people get their back up against it with the word therapy. Listen, there's just group discussions. Just go hang
Well,
out with some minded people. If music is your thing, go to an open mic. Go hang out with some musicians. If it's sports, go hang out at some sports place that you're able to either partake in the sports or just have a talk with some like minded folk. And
that's
from there, you'll
beautiful.
never know.
And I liked how you mentioned about the isolation part. I talked about that a lot in my past in the book I wrote and stuff about isolation. It can be a scary place, but it can also be a good place to heal. But it's about being mindful. Is the isolation to help you heal or is it to help you hide? And I think one of the greatest things right now with all of this social media, although it does get a shit rap a lot of times, but social media can sometimes be the best place for you to connect with somebody kind of physically, but I know it's still virtually. But if you don't have it in you to get out of your house right now and you can connect with somebody, if you can listen to some of these speakers on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is you're using, connect with some positive people that way. And that's going to help give you a little bit more boost until you can do something different. So you're obviously here, you're doing amazing. You can hear it in your voice and the things that you've
Thank
gone
you.
through and the work that you've done on yourself, because we all know that going to therapy is only part of it. You actually have to be an active participant in the therapy. So, with that being said, was there a specific moment or a shift or a realization like that was an aha moment for you where you started to see the light again and see things differently?
In relation to like the therapy itself, or just in general,
Just in
it's like
general, I know for a lot of people, sometimes there is this aha moment. You flip that switch and I need to pivot. But also for some people, it's just a accumulation of the therapy and working on myself and the mindset shift. So don't feel that there
yeah.
has to be a specific moment.
There was no, definitely. Okay, I get what you're saying now. No, there was definitely a moment after about 8 years of intensive therapy, many different types of therapy, individual therapy, group therapy, medication therapy. I tried it all, and I got to a point in life where I was surviving but not thriving. I was barely. I had a not a very good relationship. I did the best I could for the tools that I had at the time and where I was in my headspace. And ultimately, after 8 years of going to therapy, being with a partner that wasn't necessarily the most supportive partner either. We were at a resort actually, and for a family vacation. It was my first trip since this whole incident really had taken transpired, where I was able to get away with any family. And we went down south, and one night there was a karaoke. I don't do karaoke; it's not my thing. But my ex had suggested I get up and sing. I may have had a couple too many rum that night, and I got up and I sang. And for I felt in that moment alive again for the first time in almost 10 years. And I knew that I had to go home and just keep doing it. I knew this, it felt good. And literally, I went home, I just bought a guitar. I started taking lessons. I started taking vocal lessons. I started going to every open mic that I could. I started connecting and asking questions. It was amazing how welcoming that musical family was. And what I mean, when I say family, I just, the people I've met along the way in those rooms has been wonderful. And whether music is your passion. I didn't even know it was my passion, to be honest. But whether it's music, but whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's crocheting, if you can do it with other people, I think that's the biggest thing. If you can get out of your house, if you can get out of your apartment, your condo, whatever
Yep.
space that you're in, and you just get out and make those human connections. And yes, it's good to use social media as a resource. Like, find out where are those groups that I can go and meet, and maybe I just sit in the back and I listen. But at least there's people. At least there's a possibility that somebody might come up to me and say, "Hey, my name's," shake your hand, and that connection right there will do more for you than
Huge.
ever being alone in your apartment, in your house, and you never know where it'll lead you. So I guess for me, the light bulb moment was really just doing something so uncomfortable
Thank you.
that it made everything comfortable after. If that makes any sense at all. It was really
Absolutely.
what I kind of realized is that I really had to make myself uncomfortable to become the most comfortable in my skin possible at this in this time in my life. It's like working out at the gym, right? I say that I try to put it in more simpler terms, I guess, but nobody wants to go to the gym. Once you start going, you start feeling good, and when you don't go, you feel bad that you didn't go, but it's good for your mental health. But the reality is that you have to make yourself a little more uncomfortable to see those gains and to see your muscle development or growth or your stamina improving. And it's the same thing with your mental health. You have to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions. I know it seems scary. I know it seems insurmountable, but being at home with those negative and destructive thoughts is even scarier. I can promise you, we've all been
Absolutely.
there. And it's our own anxieties that talk us out of doing something that could possibly help us. We're in this vicious trap where it wants to keep us depressed. It wants to keep us anxious. It feeds off of that. And we have to break that cycle.
And I'm so happy that you brought this up because it is we life truly starts when we take that step out of our comfort zone, right? When we're
Yeah.
being willing to say yes to some new opportunity, to some new experience that really at first thought you don't want to do. And for most of us, that reason we don't want to try something new, that's our nervous system trying to keep us quote unquote safe
Right. The fight or
because
flight response.
exactly, right? And so it was so beautiful how you said to put yourself in the uncomfortable positions to start feeling comfortable, to allow yourself to realize and to feel safe doing and trying new things. Because just like you said, if you don't take those steps to try new things, you're never going to find what truly awakens that joy inside of you.
And,
Um,
and the irony of that is that sometimes it's not even new things. Sometimes these are just things that we used to do all the time, but
yep,
we've been removed from because we're the depression, the whatever, the addiction, the whatever it is,
whatever.
that we're too embarrassed to go back to something that we enjoyed doing. We're too anxious to go back because we're not going to be as good as we were, or whatever voice in our head tells us we can't.
Right.
That's the reason we need to. That voice is we need to shut that voice up. And that voice is that's the depression, that's the PTSD. Sorry, that's the anxiety. It's that voice and that the isolation feeds. The more isolated you are, the louder that voice gets, and that's not a good voice.
No, and it's interesting because I love how you're bringing this up about the voices and calming these things. And it's again back to the isolation. Absolutely, everything you're saying about that isolation is so true. But I want to share this and see what your take is on this. Sometimes I found for myself, and again, everybody's going to do things differently, but for me, sitting in the silence intentionally saying, "You know what? Everything outside is so freaking loud right now. I can't hear what my body is trying to tell me. So right now, I'm going to set the intention that I'm going to sit by myself. I'm going to sit in silence and I'm not going to let any of the outside voices, any of that fear. I just want to feel what my body feels." And
So I would argue, not argue, but I would agree with you in that the way you're setting this whole thing up is structured, which is
yes,
awesome. It's a structured moment of silence or pause or whatever you want to call it,
beautiful.
right? It's structure. It's meant to be. You're doing that on purpose, not because you're paralyzed by fear or anxiety.
Beautiful.
And that to me is the biggest thing is that I totally agree with you. Please have those structure. The world is such a noisy place right now. And all the chaos and the political environment and everything that's going on
Yep.
right now, I encourage those moments of turn the world off. Absolutely. In a structured way. Spending weeks with the world off by yourself with the lights off under your sheets in your bed is not structured and not conducive to to getting healthy again. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. And again, like, it's about figuring out what works and it's about having that balance. And when you take those steps, just like you said about going, when you take those steps to go to the gym, your muscles are building. When you take those steps to step out of your comfort zone to try new things, your confidence is building, your self worth is building, your self acceptance, all of that stuff is building. So it's,
Yeah.
you are a true testament of how this has all played out. Anybody that has seen you play or has met you or has seen you walking through the
Thank you.
airport, you attract because you just have this aura, this thing about you that's like, "Hey, let's chat, let's smile, let's what do you need? What's going on?"
And sometimes I think, thank you for the starters. I appreciate that. Sometimes that's all it takes is a smile. And that opens the door to a whole conversation that you never would have even imagined. And you're meeting somebody now that's guided you on a life journey or a life path that you never would have ever thought possible. And it all started with a smile. And how does that happen? Because you left that isolation, right? Not the structured isolation is okay, but it's that
It's
forever,
that stuff.
that spiral, right? And you don't have to go up and talk to strangers. Oh my God, that can be terrifying. But just a smile is all it takes sometimes, and it can totally change your world.
It's amazing what a smile can do. And people always say, "Well, I'm just one person, I can't make any changes in the world." And I just call full out bullshit on that because it's just like you said, that simple smile can
Yeah,
change the way that person's day goes. And
100%.
it's amazing. So, out of all of this, what is the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself looking back over your journey so far with all of this crumbling and sitting in the darkness and being in isolation and having your whole world crumble at your feet? And now to have this beautiful world in front of you and who knows where it's going next. What's the most standout thing that you've learned about yourself through all of this?
That I needed to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. That to me was even getting up and singing the first time karaoke. I made reference to the fact that I had a couple extra rums to give me the
Yeah.
courage, or that gave me the courage to get up and do that. That is not sustainable. To do that every time I play, right? The drinking alcohol or any kind of other drug to try to lessen any anxieties is not a sustainable thing. But exposing myself to that and practicing, it became comfortable. It became normal. It became I get excited for it now versus the
Oh, I
fear that I had, the uncomfort that I had, right? So I think that's really the
um,
biggest takeaway is get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
you know what? I just the mic drop right there because that can fit in anybody's pocket. That can fit in anybody's head when anybody is going through anything. Please take Nick's words with you. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
And as long as it's healthy, right? And that
Right.
ultimately that's fairness, right? Like as long as we're not putting ourselves in danger or putting ourselves in a position where we can either hurt ourselves or someone else, or whether it
Right.
be physically or mentally, but putting yourself in a position that or doing something that you're not necessarily used to doing, but that could absolutely have positive outcome, 100%. We have to flip ourselves. Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And I think of people looking at this question or asking this question, what new thing can I suck at today? Right. Because as soon as you
Mhm.
start something, chances are for the majority of us, as soon as we start something new, we're going to suck at it at first. Not everybody, there's going to be things that you pick up and you don't suck at. But what are you willing to suck at today, but to at least try? And get used to sucking at things, get used to failing, get used to restarting and refocusing and not letting that uncomfortableness and that fear let the anxiety take over and stop you. Get
Well,
comfortable with the
that
uncomfortable.
like I couldn't agree more. And I think the other thing that we have to get away from too is this day and age of instant gratification. We want it now. We want to see the results now.
Oh,
We want to be the best now. I believe it's a Japanese, and I'm going to butcher this. It's not a quote, but it's something to the effect of basically all you have to do in life, or whatever challenge you're trying to work on, is to improve 1% every day. 1%. Not I'm not gonna be 100% tomorrow or the day after. No, no,
yep,
just 1%. And if you build on that 1%, that compounding, we'll call it interest or whatever you want to call it, grows exponentially. And then next you've mastered whatever it is you're trying to master without putting that pressure on of, oh, I suck today. I'm never gonna get it. I'm gonna quit because I'm never gonna get it tomorrow. Well, no, of course you're not gonna get it tomorrow. But you're gonna be 1% better tomorrow. And then the day after that, you're gonna be 1% better. And we know that eventually those percentages aren't infinite, that there's a 100% mark that, and in all fairness, nobody's perfect, but
no,
people often strive to be perfect. And I've gotten away from striving to be perfect. I'm now just striving to try to improve by 1% every day. Doesn't matter what it is, just
1%.
and it takes the pressure off. I really find it does.
Yep.
And it makes things feel more attainable or more achievable at that point.
That's beautiful. It truly does. You again, it's about allowing yourself to feel comfortable and to feel okay that, hey, you know what? I tried this. It didn't go exactly as planned today. I need to do more work, but not beating yourself up and switching your
No,
mindset to say, hey, I look at it as what is one thing we can do today that our future self is going to thank us for? Same thing. What
absolutely.
can you
Yeah,
improve 1%?
love
Um,
it.
and it's again, it's all about shifting that mindset and allowing yourself that grace and that compassion and that gentleness to try new things and to suck at them and to laugh
Mhm.
at it and to have fun with it and to get something out of the experiences rather than letting those experiences beat you up and put you in that negative downward spiral.
100%.
As we get closer to finishing up here, we asked, you had mentioned at the beginning that you, in those darkest times, you didn't really have much hope or any hope at all. What gives you hope right now?
Oh, it gives me hope. Now that I've been able to simplify my life to I was talking about this actually earlier today. I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable knowing that everything that I own that's most important to me, I could probably fit into the trunk of my vehicle right now. And I'm okay with that. The liberty of that is huge. But what also comes with that is living a simple life. And because I've learned to live a simple life again and enjoy and appreciate the simple life, I get excited every day I wake up. I didn't have that I dreaded waking up before. Fuck, I'm trying to keep. Again, I got reports. I got whatever deliverables due at work, or stress. When you take out that stress, and sometimes you can't always take it all out, but you can definitely minimize it. And now for me, I wake up excited to face every day. I wake up to see what today's going to bring. What excitement is the day going to bring me today? And that's a totally different way to live, and it's a fun way to live. And sometimes when there's no excitement, boring is good. Hey, boring is okay. It's that balance. And for me, I've really come to learn that and appreciate that, and incorporate it into my life. Because if I don't have that balance, I know how far off the pendulum I can swing, and it's a
Yep.
scary place.
It is. I love that hope and the simplifying. It makes it really clear. And I appreciate the pause that you have when I ask that question because it is a tough question. What gives you hope now? But I love that by simplifying your life and we're no longer trying to keep up with everything outside, no longer trying to maintain the mortgage, the toys, that finding joy in the simple things in life is absolutely beautiful. So, as we finish up here, is there anything else that you would like to leave the listeners with before we end off?
If I can do it, you can do it. Just don't give up. I was certifiable. I was in the hospital against my will. I didn't think I deserved to be on this planet anymore. I was there. And now I couldn't be more grateful for every day that I get to wake up and open my eyes and see that blue sky again. And even on the gray days, even on the cloudy days, I'm just so happy to be awake. So happy to be here,
Yeah,
and take on, let's see what the next day has in store for us with a smile
beautiful.
on my face. So always keep smiling, I guess is what keep smiling, and you never know who will smile back at you.
I love that. That's beautiful. So, if our listeners want to hear some music, want to follow you along, where is the best place that they can find you?
Oh, thank you. No, the Cavalier Son on any of the streaming platforms for music, or any of the social media applications as well. Cavalier Son, or it's a good way to find me as well.
Perfect. I will put some links down in the description here. And I do just want to give a huge shout out to you because you just recently became available to the entire world on Spotify. Is that correct?
Yeah, Spotify, iTunes Music, Apple Music, Amazon, all the
All of
major distributors.
I
Yeah,
love it. So
thank
we
you.
can definitely follow you along there and watch you grow and journey along with you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for smiling, and just
Well,
genuinely
thank
thank
you.
you for being here and sharing.
Well, thank you for doing this and for bringing light to all of this. It's a worthy cause, and I appreciate it, Jen, very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll be in touch soon, Nick. There you go. Let me thank you for joining us here on the Peace Platform. And if today's story spoke to you, know this: you are not alone. If you've walked through darkness and found your way towards peace, your story matters. And if you feel called to share, not for attention, but to help somebody else feel seen, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out at thepeaceplatform@gmail.com or connect with us on TikTok, YouTube, or Spotify. Or you can also visit my website at www.pause23.com. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, hold on to hope, and remember, this is the Peace Platform, and you are family here.